For this final session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the processing options that I usually apply when it comes to finishing off a drum loop. Now, you may have noticed that throughout these tutorials I haven't used compression, and the reason for that is that up until this point they don't require any compression, and that goes for all drum loops that consist of synthetic timbres. I mean, if you're building a loop that uses a recording of a live drummer, then obviously you're going to have to apply compression there while recording and also while playing back, just to keep the levels level, really. But when recording synthetic instruments, they're already compressed at the source, so there's absolutely no need to apply compression until the loop is finished and you're ready for mixing it down. Now, I'm only going to run through the processing on the house drums here that were created in the third session, because what I do here you can easily translate to any loop we've made throughout this DVD. The principles are exactly the same. But before we look at that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what I've done to this drum mix from session 3. First of all, you may have noticed I've added a reverse snare. Now, we also did this in the progressive house one, which didn't quite work with the loop, but I thought I'd give it a go here, and it actually works quite well. As you can see, it's just a note placed at the end of the bar with some reverse reverb and filter freak on it. Sit there. I'll just give you a playback with that playing. And that's basically it. You'll notice that I've also obviously, changed the levels and done some panning, and I've also used EQ. But perhaps most importantly of all this is that I have applied compression on some channels. Now, the only channels I've applied this compression on are basically the channels where we've used a filter freak. Now, this is because a modulated filter is acting on the instrument, and that means that it affects the volume level, and obviously for mixing we want to keep that level constant. So that's why I've applied compression here. It's not really to add the compression sound to it, although obviously the SSL does add its own sound. It's basically just to keep the level constant while I did a quick mix down. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to look at processing this loop. Now, there's a number of ways you can process loops, and how you process it all depends on how you want the loop to sound. Generally, I always tend to follow a specific chain, which a lot of people seem to like the sound of my drums, so I'm going to go through the chain that I use. As always, feel free to experiment with that and push it further and change everything. So the first thing I like to do is I like to select all the instruments except the kick and the snare. And what I do is I send those out to a bus. So we'll send those out to bus 1, and I'll just name that bus now so we don't forget what we're doing. Right, I'll name that percussion, and then all I need to do is I'll send all of them fully out to there. Can you hear that hiss there? That's actually filter freak, that good old filter freak. And we'll set it all to no outputs there. Right, now all that basically means now is that when I play this back, the percussion's on this bus. Now what I like to do is I like to call up a compressor. We'll call up the Logic's own compressor. I'm sure Cubase has its own compressor, and as does Ableton and all the other pieces out there. And what I'm going to do is I don't know if you've noticed in early sessions, there's always been a hidden track up there, and basically all that's been is a side chain. And all that is, I've just bounced down a kick, which just gives a constant thump, 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 and I've put it up as a side chain there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to send that side chain into this compressor, like that. And what happens now is this side chain will pump this percussion. I'll just set that up to pump it. I need quite a fast attack. Ratio of about 3:1. I'll turn the knee right down. And what we'll do is just do the release, and then all we have to do now is Now the reason I've done that is because I like to duck all the percussion on every kick. It just punches a little hole in the percussion, so anything that's happening at the same time of the kick just kind of ducks out of the way and lets the kick really pull through the mix. Now you're probably wondering why I haven't sent the snares to the bus 2, but that's simply because, as we've mentioned before, the snares augment beats 2 and 4. Now, and remember how we stressed the importance of evens. 2 and 4 are important in the drums. Now, the thing is, if we duck the snare, what would happen is beats 2 and 4, the snare would duck and we'd lose our emphasis on them beats, and the loop would fall apart literally in front of our eyes. So what we do is, once we've done that, we just ducked it just to punch a few holes in the in the percussion, just to make it sound that little bit better. And what we're going to do now is, I'm going to send the kick and the snare out to the next bus, which is bus 2 there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this loop. Okay. And I'm going to set them on no output there and send them fully to that bus. And what I'm also going to do is, I'm also going to send our percussion to that bus as well. And it fully out and turn that output off. So now what we've got is, we've got our kick and percussions all running into this bus here now. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to call up a compressor on here. Now one of the things I must mention here is, this is the SSL bus compressor there. Now I can't stress this enough, the quality you receive through the processing that we're going to apply here depends entirely on the quality of the compressor you're going to use. Now I wholly recommend the SSL stereo bus compressor because it sounds absolutely beautiful, and I can guarantee that 90% of the mixes you listen to have been through one of these babies. They sound absolutely gorgeous, and I make no secret that I really do love this compressor. If you've seen the mixing DVD, you'll see how much I go on about this compressor. So what we'll do is, we'll set this compressor up first. All we do is we start playback, and we drop our threshold until the 4 is around the middle. So we're knocking around 4. And then what we do is leave the attack as fast as possible. The release can stay on auto, and our ratio of 2 to 1. And what we do is drop the compressor out, bring it back in, and we need to use the makeup gain so the volume is the same with the compressor in and out. Now the only reason we do that is just to make sure that the volume isn't making us make a decision. We're actually making a decision on how it sounds rather than because it's louder. So that's applied there now, and what we do again now is we send this out to yet another bus, and on this bus we're going to insert again the SSL bus stereo compressor, and we're going to copy the settings that we've got there. Now basically the effect we're looking for is, this is called parallel compression, so I'll just send that up there. Oops, put that on the wrong one. Pay attention. Call that up again. There we go. And so we'll just lower that down. So the makeup gain just that little bit. We can leave all of them as they are. Now what we do is, as we play this back, Now basically what we're doing there is, we're sending this compressed signal into another compressor. Now normally compressors are insert processors. This one we're using as a send, and it's known as parallel compression. And the more we send this to this compressor, the more heavily the loop is compressed, and the more heavy it becomes, the more thud. You'll hear more thud and more energy. So it's just simply a case of we send this and just add to taste to get the right feel for the music. Now think to finish that off, what we'll do is we'll just introduce just a little riff there that I got for a sample, and we'll just play all this together now and see how it sounds. And that's it. That's how I apply my process. And at the end of the chain, when the drums are done, then I start to look at compression. But I always try and get the drum timbres right, the rhythms right, and then start looking at compression to finish off the mix.